Get ready with me for planting season. Components of corn yield are ears per acre, kernel rows per ear, kernels per row, and kernel weight. But yield increases over the last century are mostly because of improved hybrid genetics, allowing us to increase our ears per acre. It's all about maximizing your ROI, making sure you're planting high enough that you're maxing out the ears per acre that your field can support, but finding the balance where you're not planting too high that either the cost of the seed doesn't offset the yield increases or plants start to give up on other yield components like kernels per row, kernel weight, etc. So how do we pick the right population? Need to look at two main factors, your yield environment and what hybrid you're planting. Yield environment is made up of a bunch of different factors, soil type, drainage, base fertility, etc. But in general, if you have an idea of what your highest yielding best farms are and what your lower yielding farms are, that's a good place to start. Next thing to look at is the ear flex of your hybrid and how that'll interact with your yield environment. Fixed hybrids have a consistent ear size across different populations, so they increase yield by increasing ears per acre and kernel weight. You can plant them at higher populations because they will put out the same sized ear, and in fact, they need to be planted at higher populations to maximize your ROI, otherwise you're leaving yield potential on the table. We don't have any true fixed hybrids in this maturity zone, but a couple popular hybrids, 4099, 4290, and 4856, are all semi-fixed hybrids, and they all benefit from planting at higher populations. If you're in a super high fertility zone, high yield environment, you can actually get the most out of a fixed or semi-fixed hybrid because you can push population higher. Flex hybrids change their ear size to adapt to growing conditions and are capable of cranking out big yields in years like 2023 and 2024 when we have adequate rainfall. Flex hybrids increase their yield by increasing kernel rows and kernels per row. You can generally plant them at lower populations because they will compensate by producing a larger ear. However, if resources are limited, they'll flex down, produce a smaller ear, and that's where we see things like tip back, and we'll typically run into stock issues as well. Flex hybrids can work really well in areas that are prone to moisture stress, so like a lot of central Ontario, because you can plant at those lower populations, and then if you do get years like the last two where we've had a lot of rain, they'll use those resources and perform well. If you're familiar with 3648, 4480, or 4909, they are all flex hybrids. Semi-flex hybrids are a really nice happy medium. They give you a little bit more stability than a full flex hybrid. Some of our most popular hybrids, 3955, 4205, 4640, are all semi-flex hybrids. They tend to have the best yield results kind of across variable ground and will give you kind of the most consistent performance across different planting populations, different yield environments, different soil types, etc. So that's why semi-flex hybrids often end up being the most popular ones because they just provide a little bit more consistency across the most acres. You can find population recommendations and ear flex ratings in the seed guide, or you can just pause the video to read this chart. Keep in mind that target populations are for emerge plants, so planting into nice conditions, plan on at least 5% more seeds drop per acre than emerge plants. And if you're planting into not nice conditions, if it's cold or wet, like a lot of us might be this spring, plan on at least 10% more. So for a target population of 30,000 plants per acre, you'd be looking at 31,500 to 33,000 seeds per acre. Plot seed is here, and I'm looking forward to being back in the field. Hopefully I'll see you soon.